What up, Moody Bros Army? It's your boys, little bro Logan. I got my big bro right next with me. How you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling real good, man. How you doing?
I'm I'm ready to get into these last few episodes for this documentary. So what we got is we got going into 96, 97 season, right after the Bulls win. After that, a historic season. And we got a little bit of Steve Kerr, speaking a bit about his father. What did you think about that?
You know, um, I remember. The thing is like the more that we go through these years of the Bulls documentary, the clearer and the clearer, each event comes for me. I can remember hearing about Steve Kerr's father and the attack on his life and him dying. I can remember hearing about that. I didn't know all of Steve Kerr's background, so I don't want to spend too much time. I mean, it's a tragic event. Heart goes out to him. I don't want to spend too much time on that aspect of it, but Steve Kerr is the embodiment of doing everything that you can to get the most out of your talent. He made the mention that he was playing in Cleveland. They see the Bulls, 6 times, 7 times in a year when you count playoffs as well. And he's just imagining himself being on the Bulls and how he could fit in on that team and how he could contribute alongside Jordan. And, where there's a will, there's a way. He kind of willed that, into existence for himself to be on that team and to be in a position where he comes under the wing of John Paxson. And it's like, okay, this is what you can do. This is where you can get your shots. This is where you can fit in. And being ready. You're a guy who's coming off the bench. Steve Kerr likes to say that he doesn't have all the physical attributes, and he didn't. He wasn't a player like that, jumping out of the gym or anything. But you can hone your skill, and everybody that's on a team brings something to that team. And he's got his skill honed to the point where when it came down to crunch time, he's going to be ready to step in, and hit shots. And I think that's going to be, it plays itself out over the course of time on that team, where he's able to step in and make some big buckets when they need it the most, And I think that's, the importance of Steve Kerr. The importance of all the guys that are on the team. It can't be overlooked. Yes, Jordan's the GOAT. That's the point of this whole thing. We're all tuning into this thing because Jordan's up here. However, along the way, you've got guys that are contributing in to make this thing work. You've got your Scottie Pippen, your Tony Kukoc, your BJ Armstrong, your Steve Kerr, your John Paxson, your Ron Harpers. You've got these guys over time who you can't win the title without those guys, And that's why I'm glad that along the way, we've seen guys get highlighted along this thing. We've seen Pippen and Rodman got highlighted. We've seen Horace Grant got highlighted. We've heard from BJ Armstrong. We're hearing from Kerr. We're hearing from Paxson. We're hearing from Winnington. We're hearing from Kukoc. We're hearing from all the guys that played alongside him, Scott Burrell. We're hearing from these guys because that's the thing. This is a team game. This is a team game. But the reason why we're all tuning in is because we're getting that behind-the-scenes look at Jordan himself.
Right.
So what do you think, first of all, like the main thing that they kind of focused on, and it's a huge moment in Jordan history. Now we're not going to call it the flu game anymore. We got to call it the food poisoning game.
Right.
So what do you think about the food poisoning game and how that whole thing played out?
Well, that story, is, interesting and shady. They ordered Michael Jordan was hungry at night. Mm-hmm. They ordered him pizza, the only pizza joint that was open, out in, Seattle. Or not Seattle, Utah. Salt Lake City. But and 4 guys show up to deliver a pizza.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I could understand if they found out it was Michael Jordan's room, but I figured that wasn't really the case.
Mm-hmm.
But just 4 guys showing up to deliver one pizza, and his trainer. Paid for it, or was it trainer or agent? I think it was trainer.
No, it was a trainer that opened the door. Yeah,
right. Trainer opened the door, paid for the pizza, got it, and he's already thinking, this is some. He should not eat this, But he ate the whole pizza, by himself, and then later on, he starts, feeling under the weather. He's throwing up. He's going to the bathroom, not eating. He's in bed, all day, but he still finds the strength to drag himself to the arena and suit up to play. And that takes a lot. When you're sick, when you're under the weather, you don't want to be doing anything. You just want to be still, lay down in bed, and it takes a lot out of you because from experiencing flu-like symptoms. You're probably his head was probably he had headaches. You being able to concentrate was just probably impossible, if not difficult. It shows how much his desire to play and win. And he put on quite a performance.
38 points.
Yeah, what would you say?
Well, first of all, I have a collection, a Jordan collection of the 6 greatest games from his career with the Bulls. So what I want to, and that well, no longer, I was going to call it the flu game, but it's no longer, can we call it the flu game? It's the food poisoning game, if that's what you're going to call it. That game is on that DVD collection. So I want to sit down and I want to rewatch that game because I want to see if the announcers or broadcasters, I want to see if they have any other, information or viewpoint, just revisionist history. I want to go back and watch that game and just to see how they're documenting it. I don't know, like Jordan had to talk, he's always talking to the media ahead of time before games or stuff like that. I just want to know. So I want to go back and rewatch that game just to see if there's anything, if they actually said we spoke to Jordan or we spoke to the trainers on the team. You see what I'm trying to get at? I want to go back and see about that just for myself. But Jordan's come out and he said that it was the, food poisoning. He had food poisoning. I don't know if you know this, little bro, but since this whole thing came out, I guess the guy who delivered the pizza, he's come out and said no, that it was only him and one other person, so 2 people showing up to deliver the pizza. My thing is still, you know what, dude? Like, we're never gonna know. We can't test Jordan. We're not gonna be able to test Jordan. And the thing of it is like with everything that's going on in society today with COVID-19, and then everybody ordering food online, you've heard more and more cases of people tampering with the food when they go ahead and bring it to you. Now, I'm not gonna say he did it. I'm not gonna say he didn't do it. I'm not the dude who delivers pizza. I wasn't there. I wasn't there to open the door. So I have no idea about any of that. Right. All I'm gonna say is this. The documentary did a very good job of portraying the Utah Jazz fans as rabid and then showing this and saying, I ordered a pizza from this place, here in Salt Lake City and I got sick. Did they tamper with the food? I don't know. I'm the only one who ate it. I'm the only one who's sick. We got a bunch of guys outside of their room, peeking in, looking in, trying to see what they can see. Where is it going to do? The documentary did a good job of helping the viewer put the pieces together. And I don't want to be just like a little sheep. I want to go back and I want to try to get as much information in my limited scope that I can, which is why I'm saying that I want to sit down and I want to rewatch that game so I could see, what the announcers are saying while Jordan is playing. Right. That being said with that part of the topic, he dropped 38 points. Flu, food poisoning, whatever it was, he went out, he dropped 38 points on the Utah Jazz when the Bulls needed him to do it the most. And that is what I've been talking about throughout this whole documentary series with you, little bro. I've been saying that when the lights shine the brightest, that's when he steps up. And that's what makes him the GOAT, And even Scottie Pippen touched on it and said, the man was sick. The man he couldn't move. And Bill Winnington said it too. When the whistle sounded, he'd go to the bench and dog tired, falling down. Yeah. Time to come back in, he's running, jumping, dunking, scoring, doing all this stuff. And it's defending. And like Pippen said, this guy is the best guy who's ever played basketball. That in that moment, Pippen looks at him at his teammate and he's like, man, like you're the best. Yeah. So that was kind of like the big takeaway. There were some other important things that happened in that episode, but for me, I feel like that game was the biggest takeaway because I remember watching it live. I watched it live. I have the DVD collection and I've watched it on that DVD collection a couple times, and now I'm wanting to go back and watch it again. You know what I mean? So for me, that is one of the probably the second most iconic game in Jordan's career for me personally was that particular, game where he goes out and drops 38 with food poisoning. So let's talk about one of the teams in the East. We know that the New York Knicks match up well with the Bulls. Another team that matched up very well with the Bulls was the Indiana Pacers. You've got Reggie Miller. You've got Rick Smits. He's a big Flying Dutchman. They were a deep team. They've got Jalen Rose coming off the bench. They've got Aaron McKee. This team that they got Mark Jackson, who's one of the best point guards, maybe of all time. Yeah, top. He's a top point guard of all time, top assist man for sure. He's a top assist man for sure. So you have a team that can come and go right at the Bulls. They could come and go right at the Bulls. Was there anything that stood out to you when you're comparing, Pacers and Knicks, how they match up with the Bulls? Was there anything that stood out to you looking at the Indiana Pacers and how well they did going against the Knicks? Because they took them to a Game 7. A Game 7. So is there anything that stood out for you?
Well, they had, they were a tough team. They had the Davis twins. Reggie Miller was just, a sniper. He could play some defense. And Larry Bird is coaching that team. So he's gone up against Jordan. He's an NBA legend. He's an NBA champion. So he knows what it takes to get your team over the top. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, though, the Bulls find a way to prevail. Mm-hmm. And that Indiana Pacer team, for a few more years down the line, is still a top team in the NBA. I know they make an NBA Finals a few years down the line with Reggie Miller and not Phil Jackson, Larry Bird is the coach. So they were a very, very, very good team, very capable team. But I'll have to defer to you on a little more of this one. I have never seen any of those games. The documentary helps, but being able to watch it is something special to itself.
Well, I think that let me jump in here. I think that, and I mentioned it in a previous video with my old team, the Seattle SuperSonics, and with Sean Kemp. If you haven't seen highlights of these guys, or if you're coming in a little bit later down the pipe, first of all, and I mentioned this, on my live reaction to the ESPN list. The NBA has done a great job of releasing footage of players so that we can go out and we can watch it and we can observe it for ourselves and we can come to some objective viewpoints on players. Reggie Miller is an assassin. There's no other way to put it. This guy was an assassin. And when you want to talk about having ice in your veins, actually it happened there in the documentary. He gives Jordan a little bump off, he gets open, he hits the three. And then that ends up being the game-winning shot to force the Game 7 and take the Bulls to a Game 7. The importance of the guys that Jordan beat and the ability of the guys that Jordan beat on his way to those 6 championships. We are talking about some of the best talents to ever play the NBA.
Right.
Reggie Miller, I know Ray Allen passed him for all-time threes made, but Reggie Miller is, God, dude, he could shoot. He could just flat out shoot. And it didn't matter. It seemed like it didn't matter from where he was shooting from. People want to fall in love with Stephen Curry and him shooting threes and stuff like that. But you know what? Reggie Miller was Steph Curry before that. You know what I mean? And it's and he's playing in an era where the defense is much more difficult, much tougher. It wasn't no thing of if you touch a guy with your pinky finger, it's a foul. He's playing in an era where it's much different. And hitting that three, his shot release is awkward. I'm not going to act like it's a pretty shot, but you know what? It goes in. As long as you hit it. As long as you hit it, it goes in. So those Pacers teams, they were a tough matchup because you know what? When you're coming out of the Eastern Conference, the Eastern Conference always seemed like it was a war. It always seemed like it was a war. You had the Knicks, you had the Miami Heat with Alonzo Mourning, you got the Pacers coming in. It was physical guys, and the Bulls are another physical team. And when you've got these wars going on in the Eastern Conference, it's not nothing to sneeze at these people. The guys that Jordan beat, don't look them down. Don't look down at them. I know that some younger people today.
No, they were all great players and great teams.
Right.
They younger just ran into the wrong person.
Who are tuning in and seeing this stuff for the first time, they're saying, well, who did the Bulls beat? Well, hey, I'm telling you right now, they beat one of the greatest shooters in NBA history in Reggie Miller, coached by someone who's got a high basketball IQ in Larry Bird, So that is just truly, the road coming through to get to the NBA Finals. It gets cemented when Jordan's going up against guys like this. Now let's go ahead and move on, and we're going to look at the last team that the Bulls faced for the final 2 years of this second dynasty. You've got the Utah Jazz, and you've got the Mailman. You've got Karl Malone, and they let us know here in episode 8. In episode 9, they let us know here that he's the MVP. He's the MVP coming into that final season. So what do you think about Karl Malone, John Stockton, Jeff Hornacek, Jerry Sloan, who recently passed away?
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to his family, and our thoughts go out to you. What do you think with Karl Malone? We get a couple interviews from those guys from the Utah Jazz along the way. We also had an interview with Reggie Miller. So is there anything that you take, somebody who's a little bit newer to this portion of it, what do you think when you're hearing these guys talking about Michael Jordan? That's an interesting thing that I want to hear.
It's interesting. A lot of these people had, similar and different viewpoints. Reggie Miller, he talked about when he came into the league, Michael Jordan, he wanted to try and, show what he could do when he came into the league, because I think he came in a few years after.
Mm-hmm.
And, he went into saying, Michael Jordan, he's all right. He's all right. He's nothing special. And then he learned that, Michael Jordan is all that. He is his airness. He is one of the greatest to play. And, a lot of the people he went up against, they showed the respect of going up against, someone like Michael Jordan, and, to get into the, Utah Jazz. And Jerry Sloan, one of the original Chicago Bulls. In case you guys don't know that, the Utah Jazz were a great team.
Oh yeah,
great team. Mm-hmm. John Stockton holds the assist record.
Mm-hmm.
And
and it's not going to be broken anytime soon. He's like 3,000 assists ahead of Jason Kidd, something like that. And it's like Jason Kidd's an all-time, passer, and he still has 3,000 more assists than him.
Right.
So it's like a full career.
Right, and then you got Karl Malone, the second most point leader in the NBA. Yeah. So this was a great team that and Karl Malone is holding the MVP at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. So this was a great test for the Chicago Bulls, and like you said, all of these teams are great teams, but they're playing against the wrong person. If Michael Jordan and the Bulls are not in there, I'd say at least all of these, if not all of them, but some of these teams would have won championships, I feel.
Right. Oh yeah.
Michael Jordan is not there. But this was a back and forth series for a little bit, and then Michael Jordan had his food poisoning game, and then Game 6 was a bit of a nail biter. What do you think about that?
Well, the thing with Jordan too is that it's always he's able to knock him out when he needs to. Game 6, it doesn't go to 7 in the NBA Finals. It doesn't go to 7, and that's the thing with that. Before the Last Dance, they got the Jazz, and they go out and they've got to, when the money's on the line, the Bulls step up. When the money's on the line, Jordan steps up. You know what I mean? And like you already said, and like I've always been saying, these guys are all-time greats. Jordan gets them, and he doesn't get them in a situation where, are we having to defend home court at home? Are we, coming down to the Bulls? He gets it done when it needs to get done. No, that's it. We're ending it. 4 games to 2. So to me, that's the embodiment of it, little bro. To me, that's the embodiment of it. I can remember all these guys. I remember them clearly. I remember watching them play, and to see, it always came down to a thing in the end, like, man, Jordan again. Jordan again. Because I got to say it like this. Not everybody was a Bulls fan. I'm going to say it like this to all the Ruby Bros Army. I wasn't a Bulls fan. I've already touched on who my squad was, and the Bulls beat my squad, but it's the thing of being able to objectively look at the player and understand. Now, something I want to say, I want to bring this up, and I actually want to bring it up in a later video when we get to the final episode of the documentary. So don't let me forget, little bro. I want to make a comment about Karl Malone in the final episode. But we've seen them talk to Gary Payton. We've seen them talk to Isaiah Thomas. We've seen them talk to Magic Johnson.
I know where you're going with this.
We've seen them talk to Reggie Miller. We've seen them talk to Patrick Ewing. We've seen them talk to John Stockton. We've seen Charles Barkley. We've seen them talk to a whole list of Hall of Famers, top 50, top 60, top 70 players of all time. We've seen them all talking to this guy.
Where was Karl Malone?
Okay, well, don't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't let me forget, because I'm gonna bring it up. So if you're tuning into this video, don't forget. Big Bro's gonna bring something about Karl Malone, and I'm gonna bring it to you guys, and it's gonna be very interesting. It's very interesting. It's really not a knock against Malone. It's very interesting. Right. It's gonna be in our last video, so I want you guys to make sure that you don't let me forget. Ludi Bros Army, Lil Bro, don't let me forget that I'm gonna be talking about that in the next video. But what I want to say is this: the thing that sticks out to me when I watch these guys, and they're talking about how it was to go up against Jordan. These are competitive guys. These are the top guys in their craft, you know, and they all have the same like emotion. If I would have done this differently, Charles Barkley says it. If I would have came out a little differently and set the tone. Gary Payton said it. If I would have guarded Michael Jordan from the get-go. They all have one. Magic Johnson said it later on. I think it's outside the documentary. He's doing an interview with Stephen A. Smith, and he says, well, James Worthy, if he didn't sprain his ankle the round before, we might have had something different when we were in the NBA Finals. Every single guy has something in their mind to where they're thinking, if I could have just done this one little thing differently, I might have been able to pull this out. The thing of it is this: you can't go back and change this history. I love the competitive nature of every single one of these guys, but they all say the same thing too in the end. But he's Mike. Or in Reggie Miller's case, he's like, I didn't call him Mike after that. I called him either Jordan or Black Cat. I've only called him that from then on, because he was that guy. You know, he was that guy. After they played him, they all understand he was that guy. You know, and to me, that's a big takeaway, because you know, to get to the top of anything, you could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor, it doesn't matter. To get to the top of your field, it takes a certain amount of competitive nature. It takes a certain amount of drive. And we see Jordan emulating that more than any of these other guys who are all, like I've already been saying, top 70 guys of all time to play the game, 60 guys, 50 guys to play the game of basketball. These are great basketball players. And Jordan still is, you know, right up here at the edge of the screen, you know, cream of the crop.
No doubt.
So is there anything else that you want to take away from this episode 9, the penultimate episode, before we finally get into the end? Is there anything else that you want to take from this one?
Well, yes. You know, this is probably one of the key parts of them winning this 5th title is, you know, they started off with talking about Steve Kerr and his father, and they ended it with, you know, it's, you know, Jordan is not always winning the game. You know, he had to find Paxson to win the 3rd title. He had to, and for this one, you know, for the last shot of the game, you know, they have Michael Jordan knew that they were going to double him, because they knew everyone knew that the ball was going to Michael Jordan's hands. But he turned to Steve Kerr and he tried to whisper it, you know, put his, you know, and say, hey man, they're going to double me. You're going to be wide open. And then Steve Kerr, not realize, he's like, I'll be wide open and I'll hit the shot.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. You know, the double team came. Michael Jordan passed it out to Steve Kerr, and Steve Kerr let it fly. And I thought that was great to show. You know, it's not just about, you know, Michael Jordan. It's about everybody on that team played a part.
You know, you bring up a super important point by pointing that out. So thank you for pointing that out. And the thing of it is that, and this is what's, you know, a lot of guys now, after the documentary has come out, and I'm sure that Ludi Bros Army, you guys have probably seen articles about this, but we're having guys come out here with they're complaining about the portrayal. They thought it was more of a team thing. Look, let's be real. The reason why we're tuning into this documentary, like, yes, it's been a great documentary, but the reason why we're tuning into this documentary is because it's about Jordan first. Then we're seeing the rest of the Bulls and how they're fitting in along with him to greatness. You see what I'm saying? It's about Jordan first. The rest of the Bulls are fitting into the story, and then we're seeing it on their path to greatness. The whole narrative changes if Bulls are able to win in the time span when Jordan wasn't there. The whole narrative will change. History cannot change, though. So it doesn't change. The incident with Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc happens. The Bulls are a mediocre team the next year. And then Jordan comes back, you know, near the very end of the year. The Bulls get bounced. And then what happens after that? 72-10, defeat Utah Jazz twice. You know, we can't go back and change those things. Right. So for the players who are feeling a little bit hurt or left out, hey, you know what? History's kind to those, you know, the guy who wins is the guy who's going to write it. We want to see what Jordan's point of view is on all this stuff. That's where this comes down to. Now, be glad, because then it opens the door. It opens the door for, you know, a younger generation like Lil Bro. It opens the door for them to see these guys and then appreciate what they can do on the court. You know, and like I said, Sean Kemp, go check out some highlights of him. Like I said, Reggie Miller, hey, this guy was an assassin. Go check out highlights on him. You know, we're pulling stuff out now. Go check out highlights on these guys because these guys could play. They're all-time greats as well. But, I mean, like I already said in this video, the cream of the crop rises to the top. And it's MJ. It's 2-3 in this case. But like Lil Bro just said, he doesn't do it without. And in this case, Steve Kerr was the one to get the nod to step up big. But I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but Jordan passed him the ball. The play comes in, and Jordan's not saying, "Well, I need to take the last shot."
Right. He's not acting like Scottie Pippen. Well, if I don't get the last shot, then I'm gonna sit on the bench. Right. That would have been devastating, really.
Right.
For the Bulls.
Right. It would have.
Yeah.
It would have, because even though, look, I don't care. He makes hundreds of shots, you know, to ice the game. If Jordan misses that shot, then what? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where it comes into making the right basketball play. Making the right basketball play. And he gets the ball to where it needs to go for them to win the game. That's what's the most important aspect of it. Making sure you get the ball where it needs to go to win the game. So, and that's what Jordan does. That's what Jordan does. And that's what separates him from a lot of guys. Not only is he making the shot to win the game himself, but he's getting the ball where it needs to go to win the game and get those rings. You got 6. Got to go get those rings somehow.
Right.
So how about now? Anything else, Lil Bro? Anything else to point out here? I think we pretty
much covered it. So why don't you get us up on out of here?
Okay, I'll do that. Well, hey, Ludi Bros Army, make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you got that notification bell turned on. Make sure you're hitting us up in the comments. I'm telling you guys now, I got something that I want to share with you about Karl Malone. It was really something interesting to me when I saw it. And I have a very personal stake in this final episode of The Last Dance. So I really hope that you guys tune in. It's been a crazy long ride, but I really hope that you guys tune in for one more video because I got a very personal story for this final episode of The Last Dance. All right, well, hey, thank you guys for tuning in, and we are going to see you guys in the next video.